Hey guys, I am Caleb Giddings,
And I am Keith Finch. We do
and this
not
ep
have our largest member today due
because
to
he's not
him being
here.
out of town.
Yeah, he went to space. He's currently
He
in
went to
Ukraine.
space.
No, he's in what I heard. He's in Ukraine trying to smuggle Ukrainian brides and AK-74s back to America
He do like them 545 gals.
for legal reasons. That is definitely a joke.
That is
Um,
100% a joke.
yeah.
In Minecraft.
Yeah, in Minecraft, right? So anyway, this episode is actually going to air before our normal Sunday drop date because we've got some breaking news that we wanted to talk about today. If you have been paying attention, there's been a whole ongoing saga with rare breed triggers and their forced reset trigger and the ATF. And Keith, why don't you fill these guys in on the backstory of all of this?
All right. So if you guys have been following along, you'll be familiar with this. But for those of you who have not, there are certain we'll call them NFA gray area items out on the market. One of those was the bump stocks that got the big old ban hammer a while back, and they're in legal litigation to try and get unbanned right now. They were declared a machine gun after the Las Vegas Mandalay Bay shooting. They're not the only device out there, though, that rapidly allows a AR-15 or other rifles or 9mm to shoot. One of those devices was the rare breed forced reset trigger model 15. It was a drop-in trigger that would auto reset itself when the bolt carrier came back forward. Now, this was the most interesting definition of still technically semi-automatic I had seen to date. Like, I could even get behind the binary trigger, which was pull and fire on the pull and then fire again on the release, being two separate actions. The FR-15 was hilarious because it was just, we'll reset it for you, we've got you, bro, as opposed to a traditional auto sear, which would just hold the components back and allow the hammer to drop again and fire the gun again when it was safe to do so. So they are different mechanisms. It is not any traditional machine gun mechanism, but it was like, this is clever.
It was
But
very
it was
clever.
like,
And I loved how all of the marketing on Rare Breed's website around the Fart 15 was that it functions in the same cycle of operations as a semi-automatic firearm. And I'm like, technically you're correct, and that's the best kind of correct.
it really was. However, as all fun things, the ATF must look at the fun thing and go, how dare you guys have fun? And a letter was sent out today to FFLs and to other spaces in the industry. I'm sure some similar correspondence, or maybe some more direct correspondence, has gone to manufacturers of, including Rare Breed, of forced reset triggers. And it opens: the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives and Really Big Fires recently examined devices commonly known as forced reset triggers, FRTs, and determined that some of them are firearms and machine guns as defined in the National Firearms Act, and machine guns as defined under the Gun Control Act. So they've said some of these triggers are no bueno anymore. They are machine guns, they are firearms on their own, like the drop-in auto packs that you see that are serialized pre-86 and all of that. So the ATF has officially dropped language that says force reset triggers are machine guns. But the interesting part here, ladies and gentlemen, and fine readers who send us memes. Thank you for sending us memes, by the way. I love meme responses in the inbox. They are delightful. Fan meme service is fantastic. But you examine the whole letter. It warns you about violations of the NFA. It warns you about violations of the Gun Control Act. It warns you that certain force reset triggers are now naughty and you should not have them anymore. And you should seek your local ATF's guidance in order to get rid of your naughty triggers. It doesn't actually define models. Mm-hmm. It doesn't come out and say the FRT 15 or the
Big Daddy BTO, Unlimited one.
Yeah, the BDU. Yep. the Big Daddy Unlimited spicy trigger, or I assume that primarily, because those are the two models I know about, I assume those are the two models that are directly affected by this, and you're not going to see Echo trigger or the binary trigger, the Franklin Armory binary triggers. Those are still bueno. Those are still considered bueno. The letter goes on to point out that indeed binary triggers are still semi-automatic because of the deliberate actions and the deliberate ability to interrupt the trigger cycle at any point. FRT.
So there's the interesting part about the language and that you mentioned is that because it doesn't specifically say a model, the ATF had put a thing in there. They're like, if you think that your forced reset trigger might be a machine gun, contact the ATF, which is, it's like, if you think you might have an illegal machine gun, definitely call the ATF and ask them if you have an illegal machine gun, which I get.
The second question will be, do you have a dog?
Yeah. How many minutes are we into this and we're getting spicy already? Okay, so there's a number of interesting moving parts here, obviously, that, you know, things that I want to comment on. I 100% agree with your assessment that this is very clearly targeted at the FRT 15 and the Big Daddy Unlimited knockoff of the FRT 15 for sure. What makes this interesting is we saw, how can I put this mildly, massive non-compliance with the bump stock ban, right? Like, how many bump stocks?
It is safe to say that didn't go as completely as the ATF would have liked.
Right. Now, difference here, the ATF rated rare breed triggers a while back. And I like the use of the term rated because it's so like, they rated us. I'm like, they had a warrant, guys. Like, it's not like the ATF.
Yeah, they knocked politely, got let in, and they're like, here's the paper that says what we're here to collect.
Yeah.
And rare breed, who are run by lawyers, were like, of course, everything on that paper and nothing else.
Yeah, exactly. So
specifically be on that paper in exact terms that you get to get it. Otherwise, you don't get it.
Now, that paper did include customer records. So
there's
a real good chance that if you bought an FR15 FR15 with using your credit card or something like that and had it shipped to your house, that the ATF probs knows you have it. All right. Like, there's a pretty good chance that the ATF knows that you have that trigger. I would say 75% chance. Now, the question that a lot of people will ask is, what should I do? And now, because this is a publicly broadcast show, and you and I both have real jobs and don't want to get our pets or children shot by the ATF, if you are in possession of one of the now illegal machine gun FR15 triggers, what you should do is contact your local ATF office and arrange to dispose of it or have it destroyed. That is what you should do to be in full compliance of the law.
It says so in the letter.
What you do in the real world is up to you, because
you're a human.
You're a human being. You're
an adult.
I can tell you what not to do. I can tell you that if you, for some reason, decide to keep your forced reset trigger, you should not post videos of you shooting, doing sick mag dumps with it on Instagram. You should not post publicly on social media, I got this thing and I ain't never gonna give it up from my cold dead hands, because the ATF will take you up on that. They burnt a bunch of kids to death. Remember? We all remember that happened. That's not a joke.
There is 100% a thing they did, and that was it. And then they posed on the charred remains of the building and the people.
Can you remember they tried to make that guy the director of the ATF? Are you kidding me?
Yes.
Oh, yes. God, David Chipman. What a douchebag. Anyway, but if for some reason you decide that you think that this letter is illegal and unconstitutional and the ATF can suck a fuck, which you are perfectly within your rights as a human to make that decision, my not legal advice to you would be, don't shoot this thing on a public range where other people can see you. Don't post videos of yourself shooting it on social media. Put it in your rifle next to your level 4 plates. Put it in your illegal short barreled rifle that you already had that you didn't register anyways, next to your plates.
Yeah, because it's super hard to swap out a brace for a stock.
Yeah, exactly.
But you would never do that, because that would violate the NFA.
Crimes.
So
right, we don't do crimes.
For those who do not like violating the NFA, because don't do that. But for any who would in essence violate the NFA in one manner or another or multiple manners, like, you do the opposite of that.
So what we're going to tell you is how to not violate the NFA. So for example, if you had a braced pistol and you put a stock on it, that would be a violation of the NFA. So you shouldn't do that. Then if you had that same pistol that now has a stock on it and is an illegal SBR, and you were to take your now illegal forced reset trigger and put that in your already existing NFA violation, that's also a violation of the NFA. So you shouldn't do that. However, they wouldn't really, once you've already violated the NFA, you're already getting your dog shot and going to prison anyway. So you shouldn't do that.
Correct.
Everybody very clear, no crimes.
Every head right now, 12-6.
Yep.
No crimes. I am going to look forward to see the estimated, because we saw all the estimated compliance numbers based on the bump stocks. And I agree with the people who were like, I didn't really care about bump stocks from a practical standpoint. Like, they were absolutely hilarious gimmicks, and they were it was mostly just, haha, this allows me to shoot fast and mag dump into trash. And in a way, the FRT is also, haha, this allows me to shoot fast and mag dump into trash. But it's going to be really entertaining to me, like, after the disaster of the bump stocks, what type of compliance numbers are we going to get on the forced reset triggers? What kind of estimated compliance are we going to get? Because that'll give a gauge of, like, all right, how many people are just so sick of it? They're just done.
Well, I think too, it's going to be, this one is a bit easier. Okay. From the ATF's point of view, this is probably a little bit easier to enforce than the bump stock ban, because bump stocks were sold over the counter at gun shows. There were multiple manufacturers, there was all kinds, and they were just, they were sold on guns that were like, Bumsky sold them to Century Arms, who installed them on guns and sold them direct to consumers. Tracing the number of butt stocks or bump stocks in the general consumer market would be extremely difficult, if not impossible. There's a lot fewer.
There's going to be a more limited market with the FRT 15 is the end of it. And it's going to be a more direct consumer trace. So guys, I'm not going to tell you what to do in the video, but the end of it is make decisions that keep you and your family safe. So angry notes to the ATF that do not threaten violence or anything along those lines, but angry notes letting them know that their decision is, contrary to what they should be doing, or that the NFA should go away, and here's why. That is all kosher and on the table. Discourse with your government and its agencies, always on the table. But threats of violence or decisions that would be otherwise civil non-compliance that could get you hurt, I would avoid those.
Yeah, definitely, like, write the ATF a letter and say this decision is wrong, and here's why. It's because you guys don't understand the technical aspects of how this trigger works. I am interested to see Rare Breed's response, because their initial response to the ATF cease and desist was get fucked. And because the way that this whole thing works, people don't understand, is the ATF sends a cease and desist to Rare Breed saying, stop marketing and selling these triggers while we evaluate whether or not it's a machine gun.
Yep.
The Rare Breed says no. And, like, literally just no.
They just said no.
Yeah. They said no, come get some. And they said, oh no, we'll cease manufacturing these triggers when you come lick these nuts.
It was a rather epic response, but in the fashion that the bump stocks are going, but I expect it to be accelerated with the FRTs. This is going to end up in a courtroom, and if it goes along the same trajectory that the bump stocks are going, just at a much slower pace, this could end up with the FRT winning too, which would be hilarious. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, there's a smorgasbord of FR-15s that are back in the wild. Wow, that shipping was quick. Amazon Prime is wild.
If the force reset trigger, specifically the FR-15 or FRT-15 design, got approved, like if a judge said, "No, this is not a machine gun," and the ATF, or more accurately, if a judge said that the ATF doesn't have the statutory authority to interpret certain things as machine guns that are outside of what's written in the CFR, which is, I think, a more likely result. The CFR is a code of federal regulations, guys. Anyway, it's that would be very interesting, because I do think all of a sudden there would be like a hojillion bump stocks would suddenly be available, and so would these triggers and all of that stuff, which would be
where did all they come from? I don't know.
Yeah, speaking of binary triggers, fun fact, when Florida enacted their own bump stock ban, which interestingly is legal under Florida law, kind of interesting thing about that, because they banned it via an act of their legislature, not administrative decision by, an agency.
An unelected agency.
Yeah. So their ban is actually, you can argue whether or not it's constitutional, because
but it is legal.
But it is legal. Yeah. So law. But anyway, they also banned binary triggers in their law. So the Franklin Armory binary trigger wasn't legal in Florida after that, and it was but what's weird is the way the law is written is, if you had a binary trigger, didn't have a binary trigger, you had a bump stock, because it was, bump stocks are all of these things, and binary triggers was included in bump stocks. And I was like, okay, whatever. That's like a complete aside. I keep thinking about getting a binary trigger to put it in my PCC, because fun.
Hey, as someone who thought binary triggers were almost as gimmicky, like one half step less gimmicky than the bump stock initially, I fully encourage you to get a binary trigger for a 9mm PCC, because it is stupid amounts of fun.
And just, whoa, look at me turn ammo into spoken noise. But anyway, back to the topic.
Look at my split times.
Oh, just like 0.1 splits all day.
Yeah. Oh no, I measured it. It's 0.1 splits. It's so
the gun
fast.
You're like, I need to put a lighter buffer in here. The gun's cycling too slow. But back to the force reset trigger thing. So kind of your net off of all of this, guys, is if you have one of these, according to the ATF, you have a machine gun. According to the ATF, you should contact the ATF.
According to the ATF, you may have a machine gun.
Correct, yeah.
And you should seek ATF guidance to see if you do or don't. And if you do, they will help you dispose of it. That's what the letter is.
We do joke around about this, but like if you call the ATF and you say, I have a force reset trigger, is it a machine gun or not, they're not going to come to your house and shoot your dog. They're going to like dispose of it in an administrative fashion.
This is specifically to make it a smooth process, because they've determined it's a machine gun. Therefore, they have to, in the smoothest and most procedurally correct and safest way possible, they are required to take these off the market, because they are post 86 machine guns. They're not NFA compliant. You would have to be an 0702 and actually build a machine gun in order to put this trigger inside it, or to make the trigger itself a posty machine gun. You could serialize the trigger. So there are legal ways to keep these, even though this ATF decision has come down. They're just a giant pain administratively. But if you do have one and you look at the guidance and say, all right, I'm going to check to see if my trigger applies, because maybe it isn't the FRT or the BDU one. And again, I have no actual confirmation those are the two. The guidance is ask the ATF. So if you have an FRT or a BDU, and you then ask the ATF, and the ATF says, yep, that's one of the ones we're talking about, it meets the criteria, then like at that point, it is officially a machine gun. You know it is, and it's time to go away.
Yeah, make it.
It's time to make that no longer your trigger.
And what I will say to all of this is, I am interested to see what Rare Breed's response is going to be. I keep refreshing my inbox because I get all of their press releases, and I keep refreshing my inbox and being like, come on.
I'm interested. I am very interested to see what the response is, because this is 100% going to end up in a courtroom, and it's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, and you can
legal thing to watch.
And like we can, both talk back and forth and be like, we don't know if this is the FRT-15, but it is. Like, and
It
the
is.
letter does
They,
not say
they,
that it is, but
it's one of those things that they can't call out and say it is, because if they do that, then all of a sudden Rare Breed goes, oh, well, luckily we've been working on this weird thing called the FRT-16, and it's totally different. And it's not named in the ruling about FR-15s being machine guns. So
yeah, they have to keep it broad to cast a wide net so they can catch as many people and shoot their dogs as possible. Again, these are jokes. These are just jokes, all jokes. I will say,
guys. It's supposed to be funny sometimes.
Sometimes it's supposed to be funny. And I mean, like, the ATF is ripe for mockery anyways, because they've done some really dumb shit over the years. I will say the whole thing with Rare Breed that I've really enjoyed through this whole process, like I don't own an FRT-15. I had no intentions of buying one. I did think that I will say this as the one criticism of them. I did think that for a company who was trying to say that this isn't a machine gun, all of the video clips they posted of people using their guns sure shit made them look like machine guns. I was like, but it technically, like, I also, the thing that but back to what I loved about it was their whole argument of, well, because this follows the correct AR-15 cycle of operations, it's definitely not a machine gun, was about as good as SIG's baffle stack that was a muzzle brake that was literally the inside baffles of a suppressor. And oh, look, we happen to have a muzzle brake protector that will sell you, that will go over this baffle stack. Because I do enjoy, there was a time period when SIG especially was just every new product launch was them spitting in the ATF's eye, and it was freaking great. And it was
from the original introduction of the brace when they took that thing crazy, and then the baffle system for the MPX was just delightful. But the ATF at that was like, come on, guys.
Right.
Work with us here. And because SIG does like them some .gov money, and I understand that those are huge contracts.
Yeah.
And that keeps people employed and food on tables. So I do understand that aspect too. But the engineers are smarter than bureaucrats is always fun to me.
It is. And Rare Breed had a lot of that vibe, of the no, this isn't a crime, guys. It's just, it's like maybe like if it is a crime, it's like a light B&E worst case scenario.
Yeah. And which is accurate in the sense that look at how the ATF is going about it. It's very much okay, guys, we have discovered that through our extensive research that these are in fact machine guns. So if you would allow us to check on whether yours is one of those machine guns, we definitely know what we're talking about. We have done all the research and looked at all the books. We consulted the ghost of Eugene Stoner. He said that these are goofy. And he also said the forward assist is goofy, but we cut him off at that point.
I mean, the forward assist is goofy. Let's be real, guys.
The forward assist is super goofy, but military rifles do like themselves some forward assist, so it is what it is. But it comes down to that the way the ATF rolled this out is in the most effective way they can. They know this is going to go to a legal battle between them and Rare Breed and maybe BDU as well, and any other manufacturer, any other small manufacturer that we haven't covered that has a trigger that rates this definition. This is going to be a legal battle primarily with Rare Breed, and it could easily come out in Rare Breed's favor if the judge goes, no, you followed the statutory definition of semi-automatic and cycle operations with this rifle. It's therefore you can't just declare extra things, machine guns, even if they can just shoot fast. This could come down in Rare Breed's side, or it could come down the other way, where the judge goes, look, I get technically correct is the best kind of correct, but it is a machine gun, guys, and I'm deciding that is a machine gun. So you have to make a different product that either fits the definition of binary or one of the other approved actual still semi-automatic systems.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because it really comes down to the argument of if it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it is a duck versus, but technically it's made out of wood and it's not a duck. So,
Mhm.
you know, it's interesting. And like, I'm sure legal nerds would be like, ooh, well, here's the legal, you know, precedent for stuff like this. I don't care about any of that. I just want to see Rare Breed write shitty emails to the ATF again, because that is so good.
Oh, it's a vibe. It's
It,
totally a vibe.
it is a
I
whole
love
vibe.
I love when smart people take on bureaucrats.
Oh, it's so good. So, guys,
So
that's Keith. Unless you have anything else, I think that's about it for this Rare Breed episode. We're gonna go ahead and this will drop in the next 20 or 30 minutes, as long as it takes me to slap a quick edit on here. So before I do all of that, thank you guys for listening. Thank you for sending memes. I enjoyed the meme that Keith just forwarded me a few minutes ago. Fantastic quality. Loved it. So, guys, thank you for liking, sharing, subscribing. Keep on listening. Keep on sharing the podcast with your friends, your family, and strangers that get into your Ubers if you drive Ubers. If you do drive Uber and you listen to this in your car with people in there, do like a surreptitious recording of that and send that shit to us. All right, because that's hilarious. That's a whole vibe that I'm here for. But that's it for this week, guys. We'll be back next week, and hopefully Jack will be back from Ukraine
with AK-74s. Jack.